has no boundaries. The world does. Borders make our world more complex. But if you know your direction, we can show you the way. We are Dutch Culture. We help Dutch creatives with international ambitions by providing our knowledge and global network. And when our culture goes abroad, we keep track of past events. Now, this is where you come in. This data is all yours, so take advantage of it. Search for artist names and events in your discipline or filter on location. Follow the lines to find out who walked the path before you. So go ahead and discover, where will it lead you? Dutch Culture, your partner for international cultural ambitions.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third day of the International Queer and Migrant Film Festival Amsterdam. My name is Chris Belloni. I'm the director of the festival, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the third online talk, Art Night Out. Tonight we have some special guests from Turkey. We're going to discuss the film Scenes I Imagine, which has its wonderful international premiere at the festival. And we're very happy and grateful with the attendance of filmmaker Metin Akdemir and producer Irem Akbal. They're signing in from Istanbul, and the talk will be moderated by Simon van Saarloos, who will be here with us from Amsterdam. And after a 30 to 45-minute talk, the panel will gradually evolve in a wonderful and splashing party with DJs Kubra and MamaKil. So the floor is yours, Simon, Metin, and Irem.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, beautiful people. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Congratulations with your international premiere with Scenes I Imagine.
Thank you. We are a bit excited, I think, right now.
Yes, I can imagine. Well, first, as a housekeeping observation, I will just share that people who are watching can drop a question in the chat. So later on, we will return to your questions. That's just for the audience, whom we cannot see, but we can see each other. And you both look amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. And maybe, Metin, you are the director. Irem Akbal, you are the producer of this film, Scenes I Imagine. It also has a Turkish title.
Hayalimdeki sahneler.
Okay. And Metin, you are also the director of I've Come and I've Gone, the Turkish title. You want to say it?
Yes, ben geldim gidiyorum.
And the Kupele Bats.
Yes.
If I say
The
it correct.
name of the pool is Küpeli, but international title is Küpeli Bat.
And you're also part of the Drama Queer collective. You're working in art, organizing exhibitions, etc., etc. And this is your new film.
Yeah.
Now we have a bit of a problem because we cannot see the faces of our audience. So we also do not know whether they've seen your film. It was screened twice. It was screened on Thursday at the Queer Migrant Film Festival in Amsterdam, and it was screened today. So maybe we just balance it in the middle a little bit. We just say that most people have seen it, but in case people need an introduction, we just explain again. Maybe to introduce the film a little bit, as well as sharing my viewing experience. I've seen Scenes I Imagine in Istanbul in October, which is now.
Yes.
And I've seen it then, but without the subtitles. And I don't speak Turkish, for those who do not know. And I loved it, even without subtitles. I loved it a lot. But I loved it even more when I saw it now, being able to understand what was being said. But I will describe a little bit what I saw for those people who have not seen it. So what I saw without the text were scenes of films that were obviously vintage, that were obviously older than the current present. I could see from the quality of the image or the way that it was filmed. And I saw speaking people, speaking heads. You could see from the way that they talked that they were knowledgeable about film and that they were being analytical. And I heard Metin's voice as a voiceover. And of course, I could feel that Scenes I Imagine is about films, older Turkish films that portray female women relationships where intimacy is present. And maybe potentially to a viewer like Metin Akdemir, there's also something sexual happening, or at least the potential of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I didn't see when I couldn't read the subtitles, couldn't understand what was being said, I thought it was very explicit because we also saw then the scenes reimagined. So you have the old scenes from films, and then you have new scenes, and you can definitely tell like this is a current moment, and they're different actors, and there's definitely some sex or something is happening. Am I explaining it correct? Like I just tried to go back in time from just seeing it, and then I thought it was a very explicit conversation about the older scenes and how they were, meant to be gay or queer. But now that I saw it again just last week, and I realized actually that talking about it, it's much less explicit. Like there's much less certainty about what the scenes portray and what the kind of intimacy is that we see. Does that feel like a correct, like this ambiguity is much greater actually when I was able to understand it. So I was also thinking I have a dirty mind that I'm like putting all of this in there that is very explicit.
As we all have.
Maybe also Metin, this is why you started making the movie.
That's true.
But maybe you can say like this is my sort of overview of how I've perceived it. But maybe you can say a little bit about why you started making it, and why with these films and why the reimagining of scenes.
Okay. Thank you, the festival, also to you. It's a great pleasure to be part of International Queer and Migrant Film Festival. Also, thank you to you, Simon. When I was student in Gender Studies master program in Istanbul University, I wanted to search my thesis about why women characters express as friendship or homosexual tension or sisterhood in Turkish film history, especially in 80s. But there wasn't any professor with whom I can work for my topic and who make queer readings in films. So I think if I cannot write this thesis, I can shoot it with a video essay perspective. So 5 years ago, we applied with our project on non-shot scene. This is the ex-title of my film. With my ex-producer to Golden Orange Film Festival Fund. It's called Uncensored Cinema. So then we won the competition with our project. After that, we lost Boysan. Boysan is my ex-producer in a car accident 5 years ago with my other two friends in the same accident. And I had to stop making this film process for 3 years. And then I met with Irem and Alt Production House. This is my production company name. And go on with them and finish it this March 2020. So this is the small summarize of my film journey about how I start my film with Irem and why I shoot this film.
Yeah, and starting with the scenes from the older films. I don't know the titles of these films. I cannot produce them. But why was it triggered? Why did it trigger you to make this film? These scenes.
I watched Turkish film, especially from 19th and 18th, about women characters or women stories. So I figured out that there was not only woman friendship between these two women. These three films have a same dramatic flow, I guess. two women get closer and make the main character out of the game and become friends in these films. So that's how the space or door is open for the audience to make queer reading. Of course, for me, as a queer, I can also reading with that. I ask on my own, is there any queer possibilities for women characters relationship? And then why do we find this gap or these gaps in these films? Because of censorship or auto-censorship or just director want to show it as a friendship. So therefore, I started to research these invisible connections. You know what I mean? So actually, when I wear my queer glasses, I find some queer ambiguity, both as an audience and also filmmaker. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, that was really something that struck me so deeply, actually, in watching your film. That it's a celebration, or I felt I read it with my queer glasses as a celebration of this ambiguity.
Yes, that's true. Because, maybe Judith Butler said that when we describe the queer can be dyed. So ambiguity is important for the queer perspective or queer politics. But before this question, maybe you asked me why you choose these films, maybe.
Yes, well, if you want me to ask that, why did you choose these films?
Before that, I explain my process. Now, maybe I forgot to explain why I choose these films. I am a big fan of Atıf Yılmaz. Atıf Yılmaz is the second wave directors from Turkish film history. Especially 80s, he shot many films based on women characters. There is a film that he direct, name is Düş Gezginleri, 1992. It's English title Walking After Midnight. He shot it. It's about two lesbian relationship. Maybe it is the first time about on an openly lesbian. So his two films I interested. So maybe we said that Atıf Yılmaz is a kind of feminist director, also interested in the women character. Other film name is Two Women. So I used two Atıf Yılmaz film. Other film name is Two Women from the director of Yavuz Özkan. These three films, I think, have some similarities with the other two Atıf Yılmaz film. So I selected these three films because they start as telling a story between two women and a man, and then they turn to stories between two women and no man. Yes. So we start to watch the film with the two women story. So it's a very new for 80s or 90s. Maybe in 80s there's a coup in Turkey, military coup, and after that some movement is rise up, especially feminism. So director from Turkey interested in women issue. So Atıf Yılmaz is also interested in this topic, feminism, women stories, sexuality, identity, blah blah. So I choose these three films because of this kind of similarities. Otherwise, these three films have a same scene, I guess. Two women is lying the same position and wake up after the fade in and fade out, and wake up with together again. We didn't see any sexual tension between them. So this kind of scene these three films have. So I think there is a gaps between fade in and fade out. So I shoot my own remake scene and put it inside of these gaps. Yes. Kind of clear gaps, maybe.
And when you put in the scenes, right? So we have the fade, the unknown. How was it to imagine new scenes? Because in a way, you're also taking away the ambiguity by reimagining. But you're also just adding to the diamond of adding perspectives, So how did that go, this reimagining of the scenes?
Okay. When I watch the film when I am a child, I always put my own scene inside of the film. This is also always my process. A little queer Metin watch the film lying on the bed and making imagination and put his own scene, her own scene to the films. So, but after I made interview with my actors of these films, I totally understand that these three are complete. although these films are complete, there are still queer possibilities. And I thought that imagining and shooting the scenes I imagine. So I choose to shoot these scenes as a method to show queer possibilities for making remake scene. So I didn't make same decor and costume, but only put to my scene some light motif. For example, maybe some kind of frame, maybe some clothes, some maybe earring. So say hi to this old film with this kind of small object, maybe.
Mm.
May I add? I'm sorry, I just interrupt.
Yeah. And using queer actresses for making my remake scene, for show the audience, yes, we can imagine with this kind of actor with my film, because my all actors is queers also. So maybe I want to making a change for the normative actors for the film history in Turkey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you also interviewed the actresses that were in the 80s and 90s films.
Uh-huh.
They're also in the film.
Yeah.
Irem, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I would like to add that when you are telling us you're celebrating the queer possibilities with your film, I would like to give an example from the process, from our working process with Metin. As Metin stated, the ex-title of the film was Non-Shot Scenes. And through the journey, we just found out that calling this film as shot scenes is making it straightforward, and we don't want to make it as straightforward and accurate film project. What we are looking for this queer methodological inquiry, and it's kind of a thesis wise film, yes, because it has an introduction, it has its own development, and the ending. We are after this inquiry, and then when we started to call this film as Scenes I Imagine, I think it found its sincerity, and it makes us more relieved and give us a space to search for more queer possibilities. Through the processes, we also changed, and we found out that, as Butler says, definition makes us smaller and don't give us privileges. We don't have to make us bounded by definitions. So I just want to add that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think we should go, on one point, we should go back to this idea of Butler and definitions making us smaller in relationships, maybe to censorship, but maybe let's continue talking a little bit longer about the actresses, and also the actresses, but also how you're thinking about female sexuality, whether that still matters at all. Like, in a way, we want to go beyond gender, of course, but then there's also the obvious fact that these are women, at least in the old films, portrayed in a heterosexual world. And indeed, like, it's amazing to see, especially if you don't have subtitles, to see how the man is sort of he just kind of leaves the scene, like he's out of the frame, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So, like, I'm in this, you know, at the one hand, I want to ignore the gender differentiation, and at the same time, of course, it's very important. So maybe if you want to say a little bit more, Metin, how that came about for you, like, why was it important for you that it was like lesbian intimacy, that it were women especially?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, yes. First of all, I dedicated this film my close friend Zelish. She's so important activist for feminist movement and died with boyfriend in the same accident. She's also lesbian, and then lesbian identity is always invisible in Turkish LGBT plus movement. That's why I was attracted to these films and stories between women. In Turkey, there is not any lesbian role model, we can see gays popular person in popular culture, music and film, etc. But there is no lesbian role model in our life, you know. So in Turkey, it is accepted by the publics and politics that there is no lesbianism. So that's why lesbianism is also ambiguous or invisible in the cultural industry. Yes, for example, I'm a member of the LGBT Pride for 3 years. I didn't give the person's identity, but lots of gay also involved with the Pride committee. We didn't see any women or gender blender person. So also lesbian identity is always invisible. Maybe last 3 years, last 5 years, maybe we can see, not maybe 3, last 10 years, maybe we see lesbian in the area, in the community. So it's my responsible to show the lesbian or queer lesbian person in these films. People ask me, why didn't you interest in the male or gay tension in the film? So at first, I grown up with the family, with the women. I have 4 sisters, and my mother is I say for her, feminist mother. So this is my responsible shoot film these lesbian identity and queer identity, I guess. Sometimes I didn't want to say lesbian because it's also kind of making normative identity expressed. So queer lesbian maybe is okay for me now.
Irem, anytime you want to jump in, just do so or make a little jump. When you said earlier that the actresses themselves are all queer, how was the process of casting the people you worked with to reimagine the scenes?
Yeah, I can start. When we first met the project was complete, actually. So I was a lucky producer because they with Boysan, told of everything about the project. What was left is the money, lack of money, and the other things, these other productional things. And Metin had some other names in mind. Bon appetit in mind when we first start to work for pre-production. These names were quite famous female actresses from Turkish cinema industry. Actually, they were really excited about the project, but when we first started to talk about the scenes that Metin imagined, we found out that maybe it's not the click that we are looking for. Then we changed our mind and started to trying our best to find the best actors and actresses. Then we just looked who were with us at that moment, who were close. And these were the people from the movement, from the activist movement, our actor and actress friends. And we just asked them whether we want to do this with us. And they were really attracted to the project as an artist and as an activist from the movement in Turkey. That's how we shaped the cast.
Yeah.
So maybe we said that for Irem, maybe you added, we want to choose this kind of body positive actor for our film, not some straight looking person we choose. Yeah. For example, in old film, Müjde is some kind of fatty woman.
Yeah,
so we choose this kind of fatty, sassy woman as a like Müjde, not a teen and so butch lesbian actor. We find it. Maybe you say something.
Yeah, as just Metin stated, because we are after for a queer methodology, we are also looking for the bodies which does not represent any normative definitions. So when we are first making the cast, we were looking for pairs, and when we made our auditions, we just wanted to let them play the intimacy in the scenes as they imagine, not as Metin imagined. And then we found the game together because they also have something other than shown in the film when they watch the old ones. So they played with it.
Yes.
I want to add something.
Go ahead. Yes.
And this is the story, backstage story for you, Simon.
Very backstage.
In the dance scene, my friend play, his name's Bulut Sezer. He's a gender person and he's haven't got a breast. And in the original movie, Şahika Tekant is a woman identity. So Bulut is a gender person. We making an argument about is Bulut wearing bra or not?
No.
So we're talking about that. So if he want to wear, it's okay for us. And Bulut asked me, do you want maybe I wear wig because Şahika Tekant in the original movie had that long hair. So we said that no, your short hair is okay for us. So you know what I mean. We always make connection to the actors and we decided it together.
Yeah. Yeah, so I should also not say actresses, but actors, actresses. Yeah. I mean, just as a comment, it's not a question, but I remember also really feeling, and the scenes are not explicit in the sense that they are pornographic, but it reminded me a bit of how ethical porn, or what is considered sometimes ethical porn, is made, right? Where you can see the joy of the people who are in the frame, figuring out a certain scene, and the intimacy that comes from that. That was really beautiful. And also at the end of the film, the moment that the actors or actresses, when they're sort of, how do you say this, credited, they stand next to each other and they give each other a hug. Yeah. Which, especially in this current time, is just so moving. But also it made me think that you're really doing like this feminist crediting and, like really making the people who you are making with highlighted, putting up front, centralizing them. Is this also in your process of making? Is this what is important? Like I can see it in a film, but maybe you want to say something about how this goes when you're making together.
Yes, maybe small explanation about the hugging scene. In old film, these two women only hug and they are not sex scenes between them. So my actor hugging and making some sexual tension. So I add the hug is not enough for me. So I want to add something ambiguity, another scene, and put my own perspective. So that's it. So maybe Irem wants to say something about that.
And the day that we shoot these hugging scenes was the last day of shooting, and it was kind of a celebration for us to finishing this film together, because if the actors were not with us in the process, probably we were not able to make it as it is now. So Metin had this idea, and he just wanted all of us to have these scenes. And for example, I had another scene with Metin that we were hugging together. It was also a celebration for us working on this project together. So he always had this in mind to add this. Actors hugging each other, not in their roles in the movie, and I think it gives this personal taste to the imagination taste of Metin to the project.
Yeah. So maybe, I want to add something. In Turkey, if you are a queer person, you cannot find any role for the popular culture. TV series or films. So this is a kind of audition scenes I want to shoot. In hugging scene, I said that please smile, please be angry, please turn back your right and your left, and then hug each other. So it's also making some audition with these actresses, but I said that you are selected. Your own. You know what? I want to shoot also this kind of audition process. Or queer person, they cannot find any role for their play, blah blah. So this is making some roasting for this audition. process in Turkey casting.
Yes.
Are,
And the casting then makes me think about the gaze. Right?
Yeah.
Like how, as a filmmaker, how do you think about the gaze? What does it mean also in your camera work and the perspective that you take?
Telling these movies are censored, but this is also my reading, I guess. So there is no evidence telling us about censorship. So when I'm following this research, it is my imagination, I guess. So I'm not telling that there is censorship. So in the traditional documentary making, the message is directly presented to the audience. So in Cis, I imagine, I try the queer method and I don't want to ground my hypothesis. Instead, I am after this research process. So I didn't want to make some traditional camera position. I read an essay from Laura Mulvey, Visual Pleasure, blah, blah, I forgot the whole title. He said that when you make expected camera, you divided camera, you look like an, how to say, heterosexual gaze. So I want to show whole body of my scenes, not making some close-up or maybe master, making some close-up to the breast, to the other blah, blah part of the body. So I'm only put my camera at the same position and making some maybe little movement with their move. And don't make any different close-up and aspect with the camera. So this is my camera position, making a feminist camera method. I didn't explain very well.
No, you do.
I want to add something. I think this is also another thing which gives the movie the ambiguity, because the title of the movie is Scenes I Imagine, as Metin tells, and it's so accurate and it's so personal. But with the camera, the gaze of Metin is not something that focused on some bodily parts. It also gives the ambiguity to watch these reimagined scenes. So I think there's this not definitive method of telling Metin's story, which makes this film queer.
Yeah, this also reminds me of a moment in the film when one of the actresses of the old films, so of the 80s or 90s films, she says something about, she's kind of joking around and saying like, well, what did you expect? Like suddenly the camera is coming from behind. You see these two women laying down by the fire. They're hugging like in a friendship way, but why is the camera so far away? Like, you know, there's some suggestion there, because why else would it not be screened? Like you can see it well. And it reminds me to go back to maybe, like you were mentioning already, the censorship and also the question of what a queer aesthetic would look like. Yeah, how do we address this question of censorship? Like what, after your research, what do you think censorship means? Because I think so often we're thinking from this like Northern European Enlightenment ideal, where it's like you have to say everything and you have to show everything and you're only free when you show everything, and like you have to come out of the closet, and you know, like, and not sort of detangling or dismantling what it even means to create a closet for people. Okay, now I'm just going on a little rant, but I think it's important but that's why I said like it's so that the movie touched me so deeply, because of this celebration of ambiguity. And it almost gave me the feeling of having a tool or a strategy or a response to this, to the hard demand of like having to come out and like pretending that there's only one way of being. As long as you show yourself, you identify yourself, you tell in which box you belong. And this film kind of, for me, goes against it, but maybe I'm just doing my own queer glasses.
Take it mine.
It's like, but would you want to say a bit more about that? Like, what does this censorship mean for you after this research?
Ira, maybe you can explain.
During the festival journey in Turkey of Scenes I Imagine, we heard a lot that this movie inspired lots of people, and while they were watching, they just thought about other movies and other queer possibilities in different ones. And we heard that a lot. Like after the screenings, they just came and asked Metin whether he thinks of doing the second or third scenes I imagine. This makes me think that while you are asking questions about censorship, if you do not state that this is censorship or this is not censorship, or I'm putting myself in a closet and now it's auto censorship. Just asking questions gives you more place and flourish more possibilities. It makes the audience the same. Well, for example, for other movies, maybe they never thought about it before, but with scenes I imagine, they just found the possibility that it's possible. Like Metin always mentions that when you have your queer glasses, you can add any queer possibilities, even to this glass. It's possible. So when I first started working with Metin, I thought that, okay, this will be a project on censorship, because the X title is so direct, and it tells something about how all directors, Atıf Yılmaz and Yavuz Özkan, found themselves in a place censored. But during the process, I think we have some enlightenment moment that it's not about the censorship in itself. Censorship is just a tool for us in this project to free us from talking about censorship in a manner that is already described. So maybe Metin, you would like to add something else?
In 80s, I think directors want to shoot some films about women, but I think they want to show something to us, but I think they are afraid of to show us something more in their film. So because some films is censorship, and censorship, I don't know how to say, sansür kurulu, Irem.
There is this board of censorship in the 80s.
When they finish their film, they send their film to the censorship board.
Yeah, they have to apply for permission to release their films.
And then after they watch it, and then said that yes, we cut some scene, and we watched the film, not the original version. So maybe we watch all the films from 80s without the same original version. So I wonder this original version and then censorship border version. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe we look all the film with this kind of perspective, because in these films, DVDs, we cannot see any backstage video or some the scene they want to shoot, but they didn't put the films, extras scenes, you know what I mean? So I guess this is also my queer reading. These three films have some scene, maybe the director want to shoot, but maybe they are afraid. This is my reading. But at the end of the film, I showed this interview with the directors. They always reject, yes, there is no lesbian or there is no queer possibilities in our film. Two women lying on a bed because of the summer, you know. So sometimes I think that maybe this is kind of overrating. Maybe we lost our perspective to look at films with the queer perspective. But this is my reading. This is so the name is Scenes I Imagine. This is Metin's perspective. If you want to find with the Simon's imagination, you can find other missing scene.
But I mean, it shows so perfectly, right? Like how there is no truth. There's this interpretation, and the logic of everyone is a bit queer in its own way, in the sense that if the director says, well, they were naked together on the bed because it was summer, this is normal to do in summertime, you're just like, okay, you know, that's your logic. If you need a temperature, but you were talking a little bit about how the audience was responding to the film and already imagining other films, and that there's such an invitation in this film. Can you say a little bit more about the audience response? Because you've showed it. I mean, this is your international premiere, but you've showed it in Turkey.
At first, we went to the Golden Orange Film Festival, and we have one screening in there. After the film, a queer person sent me a message from Instagram and said that I live in Antalya, Metin. I'm so happy to see in Antalya to you. I'm maybe only the person in Antalya as a queer, so thank you to making this film. So this is the big prize for me, you know. Because, you know, if you are queer and if you are a young person, you think that you are alone. So I think these films maybe feel the person, feel the audience. Yes, we are here, we are queer, and we are always have to shoot the film, and we have to apply the festival and exhibition, blah, blah. Because maybe in Turkey, the festival is so straight perspective. So all the sweet person wearing, and so municipality come to the making conversation and making the open speech, blah, blah. So in Golden Orange, or also in Istanbul Film Festival, I wear some queer clothes and making some makeup and earring, blah, blah, to express myself to the audience. Yes, the directors can be like that in Turkey. So, you know, the film is queer, so also our crew also want to be queer, express. So audience, because in Kadıköy cinemas, I wear my skirt, and maybe some audience at first time they saw this kind of skirt, the director with skirt. So I want to show on my own. In the ordinary life, I didn't wear this kind of thing. So maybe show me to the audience like that, because of that, yes, there is a queer directors also in Turkey. This is my part. I didn't have to audience feel with these presentation, but this is my hope to show me like that to the audience.
Yeah, I just want to add one moment in the screenings. I think in Istanbul, after the film, there was this slogan that we were yelling at the Pride. Neredesin aşkım, buradayım aşkım. Metin was sitting on the seat, and after the screening, there was a Q&A section. While Metin was coming to the stage for the Q&A section, he just shouted, "Neredesin aşkım?" And the audience replied, like, "Buradayım aşkım." It was a moment for film to realize itself with its audience, and I think it's one of the most precious moments that telling this ambiguous story, we came together with the audience, and it's via the cinema, and it was a great pleasure for us.
It's a kind of hugging each other, like at the end of the film.
Yeah. We have one question from Ceylan I think in Berlin.
Yeah.
And I think that Ceylan's asking to clarify a little bit about why you didn't choose the previous actors. I think the professional actresses that were first casted, whether it was because they were not queer or if they understood that correctly.
Yani, maybe I can start. The main reason that we changed our cast is not that the first ones were not queer. We started to talk about the scenes. I don't want to put it incorrect, but when we talk about the scenes, they didn't feel comfortable about what Metin had in mind, and we Metin first, and then our producer team, we also didn't feel comfortable about what they put on the table.
They said that my mise-en-scène is very graphic for my old actor.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So it was too much. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we changed the actor after that.
Yeah.
And although Metin had asked for other possibilities, what they do have in mind, like maybe if they can make some suggestion, we can work on it. But they also didn't give any suggestions to us to work on. That's why we changed with the actors.
Clear.
Yeah.
This is for the audience. Well, I'm asking my last question. If you have an urgent question or a non-urgent question, say it now. Because once we're partying, Metin and Irem are not going to answer anything. They're just going to be there with me. Yeah, I was just wondering, I mean, if you want to share something about whether you have something in mind as a next film. For the audience who hasn't seen your films yet, they are on Vimeo, your previous films, right? And it's very different from your last film, from Scenes I Imagine. It's much more observational.
That's true.
About gentrification.
And daily life.
Daily life.
And place.
And yeah, I mean, I think people should see it. Right? They can find it online easily.
Yes.
When they put in Vimeo,
I have a account, and you can find my film in there also.
Great. Yeah. No, it's really beautiful, and it's very different. So it's also really nice to see.
For talkative films, but my previous 2 films is so silent. There is only recording to the place and the life and the person who shooting in the street, who swim, blah blah. A little explanation about the previous film.
And this is my last question.
Yeah.
Well, maybe okay. I'm asking 2 questions in one, if that's not too complicated, because I'm curious about this difference, right? With the previous films, and then this film with Scenes I Imagine. Like, why this difference? And then also, of course, I'm leaping forward to what's next.
Okay. When I learn word flaneur, I like it and want to call myself as a flaneur. So I want to walk all the street with an apple in my bag and with a sound recorder. So when I'm thinking any film, sound and gentrification are the first 2 spots shaping my director perspective. So my previous film are about daily life and gentrification. I feel like if I didn't shoot this space, persons, buildings, maybe we would have lost all of them next day. So everything can be demolished maybe next day. So this is my responsibility as a filmmaker, recording street with my camera. But Scenes I Imagine is also an example for archive, because my previous film also a kind of archive process. I may not contact the people talking in the film later maybe. But in this movie, I gave the shape to archive, and I am still an observer and not trying to give the direct message. In my previous film, I just record what I see, and there was also no message. So this film also haven't got a message, only have an ambiguity argument area, open the person. And maybe you figure out that beginning of the film, the person open a door, and at the end of the film, the door also opens still. So I want to open the area for making argument each other and talking about the topic in my films, not give the message directly. So my perspective is still same, but I use some documentary element as a queer method in this film. Yes, that's it.
Yeah. And do you want to say anything? Maybe Irem knows already, is working on it, producing it already a little bit on the next film, or am I too early to ask?
No, we have a new project.
Metin would like to share?
Maybe you know also Kübra is our friend with Simon, and Kübra is a very important trans person in LGBT plus movement in Turkey. We want to shoot an hybrid documentary with Kübra about kind of the queer musical. And maybe Kübra wants to say something.
Say hello, and hello.
So this is the next one.
Lots of ambiguity in one body. Yeah.
Many.
Well, this is a perfect moment to introduce the party.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to introduce the party in Turkish, just in case that there are listeners who are like without subtitles for now, like I was at the first screening in Istanbul. I want to tell everybody that I'm going to read from the screen, Vibrant Online Club Night with Kübra, who you see right there, and MamaKil. Kübra in Istanbul and MamaKil in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
We're gonna dance.
MamaKil ve Kübra.
And the link is in the chat, because we need to meet on Zoom so that we can see each other. Come and join us. We're gonna have a lot of fun. But for now, thank you so much. Teşekkürler. And your beautiful film. And if you are somebody watching that hasn't seen the film yet,
just text us. We will send you.
Just send the link.
Do watch.
that is the queer way, right? Thank you so much.
Thank
you on the dance floor.
Please, and the Rick, thank you also to them.